Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll select the Sanhedrin daf Samach Vav. We are going to begin on Samach Vav Amud Aleph, the top of the Amud by the new Mishnah. It says the Mastis, the Mechalas a Shabbos. So a person who's Mechal Shabbos, this is a case where a person will be Chayav Skila. But Davar Shechayav Els the Dainid Kares. This is a situation where if it was done b'mezid that you would get kares in the situation where there's no witnesses. That is what we're talking about. It says Rashi, going davar sheish bo ma'isa, there has to be an action, there has to be a malacha attached to it with the thought process and sasek, not that you was not without kavana. Says the Gemara. So mechlal the ikamidi the chilul Shabbos havi. There's sounds like there is an element of chilul Shabbos. So ein chayavin lo yashkogos chatas lo al zadon kares. So mahi, what is that? So tchumim v'libud Rabbi Kiva. Tchumim according to Rabbi Kiva, as Rashi says, he learns out from Sukkim Masechta Sota, and Havara v'libud Rabbi Yosi that we said it's lo lav yotzos. So Rabbi Kiva will hold that you don't get. It's a lav. Obviously, you're not allowed to do it, but you're not going to be chayiv misa. Now it says Rabbi Kiva ma'idanami but chumim de'en chayav le'en kares. Okay. Says the Mishnah. Next mastis. Makalu aviv imo, if you curse your parents, eno chayiv ad sheikalim b'shem. So only if you curse them with Hashem's name, which is the Shemos Hagemurim, Rashi says. Klol Bekino, if you use an alternate name such as Shakai, Savakoi, Schan, Rachum, Rameir, Mechai, Vacham, and Paitin. So now we have a machlokas. So the Gemara, Man Chachamim, who are these Chachamim that say that you're Potter? Ramanachim Rav Yosi. The sound of Menachem Rav Yosi, Omer, the pasuk is Menachem Shem Yumos, Matam Omer Shem, that it says the name. So limad al makal aviv imo, that when you curse your parents, sheno chayev ad shikal b'shem. It's only if you use the name. And Rashi says haylo lichtov ma tamud lemer shem. Ibenu inyan loy dehak kostav anakiv shem. So teniu inyan makal aviv imo. So therefore, it's talking about your parents. Tarabana ish matam lemer ish. So why does it say ish as a rabbis? Ish as a rabbi says tumtum and androgynous. Someone who's a tumtum who has neither simanim, or an androgynous who have both. Actually, kalos of yisimo, you curse the father and mother. Ainli ella aviv imo. Aviv shlo imo shlo aviv menayin. How do you know if maybe if it's only if you curse both of them? How do you know if you curse either your father or your mother? Talmud aviv imo kilel. Domiv bo aviv kilel. Imo kilel divir Rabbi Yishaya. So let's look at how Rashi interprets this. Claimer, Samach Klola Barosha Mikra. So at the beginning of the pasuk, there's a Klola, and it's connected to the father. V'soifa Samach Imo, and then when it says Kolel, it's written next to the mother. So therefore, it teaches you that you're chayiv if you curse either the father or mother. If Yonas and Amr Mash V'Shneim Ke'echad, both you'd be able to say it's both together, or maybe they're separate. The reality is it's mashma echad b'fnei atzmo, yachdov. So what does that mean? So Rashi says the vav moisav in risha mashma nami alf mehem, even either of them. Unless the Torah says yachdav kederch shehutzrach lifrad b'kilayim. When it says the person ought to plow with an ox or a donkey, and then it says yachtov together. So why does it say it together? There's nothing wrong with plowing with an ox. You can plow with an ox, or else you'd be in a lot of trouble if that's what I meant. It means you can't plow them together because it says yachtov, which is mashma. If it doesn't say yachtov, so then it's understood that it's both of them. That's either one. Okay. And Rashi says, Rabbi Yochanan lo kamon be'elu henech nechnachnim lo rabos as a makalel achar misa. It's coming to have you, even if you curse your parents after they die, still that's a din. Most yumas b'skila. By cursing them, you get skila. Maybe it's any punishment. How do we know that? So we say, Nemerkan damiv boy. The Nemer holen by Ovi Adoni, it says Demeim bom. Mal holen b'skila afkan b'skila. So we know for sure Ovi Adoni is skila. So too, Kol is b'skila. So this is learning out through a binyan av. So Einish Shemano, I understand the punishment is harmonized. How do we know the Ashara? Talmud Learner, the pasuk says Elokim Osakal v'Gomer. This Elokim is referring to the judges, Lotakal, not to curse judges. So Im Hoy Aviv Dayin Hari B'Chalal Elokim Osakal. If your dad is a judge, so that he's in that category. Im Hoy Aviv Nasi, and if your father is a Nasi, Hari B'Chalal v'Nasi Mi'amchal Saor. Eino Lo Dayin Vo Nasi Minayin. So what's the chances of that? My dad happens not to be a judge or a Nasi, so how do we know that you can't curse them either? So Amrit Hariyata Don Binyan Mishtain. You can learn out a binyan from both of them. Lore Nasi Kuri Dayan, Veloroi Dayan Kuri Nasi, that each of them have different characteristics. Lore Dayan Kuri Nasi, Shahari Dayan Atamatsuba al Harasai. When it comes to a Dayan, you'd be punished. You're punished by not listening. You're mitzvah to listen to his command. Kiroi nasi shiyata mitzvah al harasai. But when it comes to a nasi, you're mechuyev to show him fear. V'lo nasi kiroi dayin shanasi yata mitzvah al. However, v'lo nasi kiroi dayin shanasi yata mitzvah al hamrasai. When it comes to a nasi, you have to be concerned about not rebelling against the right? So again, one is when it comes to the dayan, you're mitzvah al horaso, on listening to his hayra, how he paskins, not by nasi. By nasi, you have to be mitzvah al hamarasai, on his on not rebelling against him. Hasad Shemshem and Shechein Ba'amcha. They're both in your nation. V'yatam Musar al Koloson, and there's a Azharan warning and cursing them, either the Nasi or the Dayan. Afani Avi Alecha Shiba'am Avicha Shiba'amcha V'yatam Musar al Kolosai. So we can learn out from Asana Shava and Manatzad, a Binyanav, that you can't curse any father. Yeah, but Ma'asad Shava Shechein Gedulas Garmohen. Maybe they're both in an elevated position, and that's why you can't curse them, because they're in an elevated position. You can't even curse a deaf person. And this is someone who's someone who's very lowly. So therefore we see that if you can't even curse him, then certainly you shouldn't curse your parents. Maybe it's charishasai, the fact that his deaf is what caused it. Says Rashi, mitayich shehu shafel, because he's low, hiser lavakasav shlo tivazu lo titzaru. You don't want to cause him extra pain because he's already in such anguish. You don't want to hurt this person any further, so you have to be extra careful and extra nice to the cherish. But maybe your father, maybe it's not such a big deal, and you could curse him, which we can't learn out from there. So nasi v'adayin yochichu, and nasi and adayin, they're not lowly, and yes, you can't curse them. Yeah, so nasi v'adayin shechin gedulas garmo, maybe because they're very lofty position. So cherish yochiach, that you can't curse them, even though cherish is not in a lofty position. The chazar din lo rizeh krizeh lo rizeh krizeh. All three of them are part of your nation. You can't curse them. You can't curse them. These three all have something in common. They're all unique people. So either because of their greatness or their lowliness. But a regular father, maybe, how do we know? So Ella imke nichtav kra o elokim v'cherish o nasi v'cherish elokim lomali. Why is the elokim im inu inin l'gufa? We don't need it for the thing itself. To inin l'aviv. So then we learn out from the father. So the fact is, you don't need to learn out from all three. You can therefore borrow one of them to teach us father. So nichaman di'em elokim chayil. That makes sense if the word Elokim in this case is referring to a judge, which is a regular person. Eloman Yermer Kadosh, if it's referring to Kadosh Baruch Hu, Malakim Eber Desanu. Elokim Chayil. Then we have Shemar Bekiva Omer Elokim Kadosh. V'Tanya Rebbe Lezim and Yaakov Omer as Harul Mavarach as Hashem Anayin. What is that as Hara for cursing Hashem? Talmud Omer Elokim Lo Sekalel. So in fact, there's no extra pasuk. So the one who says that Elokim is choil, so how does he know you can't curse God? Gamar Kaddish Mechoil. Elokim Kadosh, Gamar Nechol Mechoidish. You can learn out from each other. So therefore, still, it's an extra pasuk. Now, Bishul Mani Elokim Chol, Gamar Kaddish Mechol. I understand you can learn out Kaddish from Chol, because if you can't curse a judge, certainly you can't curse Hashem. Mani Elokim Kaddish, Gamar Chol Mechoidish, Dilma Kaddish Uzher, Achoil Uzher. It's not, doesn't make sense. It's not a Kavachaimer. Maybe you're not allowed to curse Hashem. Makes sense you can't curse Hashem, but maybe you could curse a judge, right? So you can't learn out Kadosh to Chol. In Kain Lethokra lo takel, as we continue to Samech Vav Amid Beis. My lo tikalel, instead of it saying lo takel, it says lo tikalel with two lamids. It says Rashi shtei klolos b'mashma. There's two curses. Shema min atarti. So what do we see? It's coming to include the father. Next Mishnah says the Mastisan. Habal nair marasa, someone who has relations with a naira, which is typically between 12 and 12 and a half, and she is erisin. And uchayev achi naira. She again it has to be a naira based on the words naira marasa. She has to be a basula, a virgin. Murasa, engaged. The bevesavin, in the father's house. Bo'leha shnayim. And if let's say two people have tashvish with her, and Rashi says, and she is still, it was bishlo kedarka. Harishon b'skila v'asheni b'chenek. So the first one is chayav skila because she was a basula. However, the second one is chenek because even though it's bishlo kedarka, that's considered to be mishka v'isha, that's considered to be a bia, and therefore for that reason he will get chenek. Says the Gemara, Tanobanan. The pasuk says naira is v'lo b'geres, not a girl who's above that. Basula v'lo ba'ula, not a girl who's not a virgin. Marasa v'lo nesua, not a girl who's fully married. Bevesavi is if the father already gave her over to the shluchi abal, so then no longer the din applies. This mission is like Rav Meir. No, the din of a nair marasa is even if the girl is under 12 and a half. How do we know our missions are Rameir and Katana Nami, and our missions come to exclude a katana? Maybe the mission when it says a naira is to exclude a boigeris, but maybe a katana is your chayiv skila. So I'm like, hi enu chayiv ad shetehei nara besul marasa enu chayiv ella al nara besul marasa meboile. The sulo midi. It says there enu chayiv ad shetehei naira, until she is a naira. What does that mean? It's mashma not when she's a katana. That's what's clear. Bamini Rav Yaakov bar Ad Marav. So he asked the question, Baal katana marasa Rameir mahu. So again, according to the Rabban, you're chayiv skila. But what if, according to Rameir, who says you're not chayiv skila, only by nair hamarasa? So if she's a katana, what's the din? Legamri mamayit le, and therefore he doesn't get any punishment. Oh, maybe maskil mamayit le, but he'll still get chenek. Or malay mastaber maskil mamayit le, and he'll still get chenek. They both have to be equal. So shasik rav. This is actually a good question, which seems to be that since if one is a minor, then the din of misa doesn't apply to the other. Omer Shmuel, my time, the shasik rav always is silent. The name of what does it say? The pasuk says clearly that a person who forced a woman, he could sometimes kill one and not the other. So if it's a katana, both are pater. Rabbi Yishai, Rabbi Yonasan Aimer, and therefore he would be killed by himself. According to Rabbi Yonasan, what does he do with Meisu Gam Shneim? How does he learn that? So when it's just rubbing to one another, but not actually a mice of tashmish, then you're not going to be chayiv. The idach masachadin will have klumhi. You don't need a pasuk because obviously it's nothing. You're not having tashmish. It's just it's nothing. The idach, and according to Rabbi Yishaya, haylovado by darshim. What does he do with that pasuk? So we're going to assign you bola sarvin ayadam. Let's say 10 people have tashmish with her, and she's a basula because it was all done Bishul Kedarka, Kum Beskila. According to this Shita, they all get Skila because she's still a Basula. Rabbi Omer, no, Rishon Beskila, only the first one because it says Levadoi. Right? The Pasuk is telling us that Levado, that only he gets Skila, the Kol Bechenek, but everyone else gets Chenek. You can see the Chumash and Rashi and Chumash on this. Tanobanon. Ubas ish kohen ki seichel liznois. So it says that a daughter of a Kohen, that she's ki seichel when she begins to have znus, which means like the first time, liznus, the din is, we know, is sreifa. Rabbi Omer tchila, so what does it mean, ki seichel? It means tchila. It means the first time. Vilgan Rashi, Masach Hadudim is Machadim Maksha Evaro Bibsaro Mibachutz. He has a kishui ever, but he is outside. Dehu Nehena Vihi Eno Nehenas. He gets Hana, but she doesn't get Hana. Shneim Yushneim Shavim Nehenin. They both have to be having Hana. Umir Shul Kadarka Afal Gav Shehi Eno Nehenas. Mishkav Ishus Rabbi Chiyuva. When it comes to Mishka, when it comes to Bishul Kadarka, even though she's not necessarily getting Hana, still you are a Chayv. Okay. 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 Weiter. So when it says kisechel means tchila the first time. That he's going to be killed only him. So my what does this mean? So Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Shmuel Sirele, the Omer Arusa, talking about a Bas Kohen, an Arusa who had Erison, Yotza L'Sreifa, she will get Sreifa. V'lo Nesua, but not if she's fully married. This Bas Kohen will not get Sreifa, but rather she will get Chenek. The punishment of Sreifa by Bas Kohen is Davka B'Shas Erison. V'hachi Karmer, Im Tchilas Bia, now if she's a Besula, Biznus, B'Sreifa, that's when she gets Sreifa. Iduch, but if she's a Ba'ula, then B'chenek. So my V'chein, so Ki Hasam, Ma Hasam B'tchilas Bia, Kimishtoi, you were talking about the first time she's Bia, she's a Basula, Hachanam B'tchilas Bia, Kimishtoi Kra. Amli Rab Bibel Bar Abaye, Mar Lo Hachi Armin, this is not how what he said, Umana Rav Yosef, Rav Krab Meir Sfirli, the Amr, a different interpretation, that Nises L'Echad Min Psulin, that if the Bas Kohen married one of the psulin, misasa b'chenek, then her death penalty is chenek. Hachi karmer im tchilas achalasa. When it says this language of kisachel, it means lashon chilul, language of being profaning herself. Biznus b'sreifa, v'idach b'chenek. So one bia, fine. So that's the din. Umay v'chein, siman ba'alma, that they're both are just beginnings. Says Rashi, b'dechila shum davar kasam medaber. That's it. Okay, let's stop there. Let's look at question 7. Ish asher yikalos aves imo mosyumos aviv imo kilo aviv man nilmud matevas ish matevas domov. What do we learn out from this? So ish is a rabbi's Bas, Tumtum, and Androgynous. Dam of Bo, the Misas was Skila, that the punishment is Skila. We're going out from Ovi Daini, fine, because there's the man bum. That's it. Question 8. Ubas ish kain ki seichel was nus. So Ezu oifen osekrol miuti misreifa, when it says the word ki seichel. So maybe the only time is when she's a basula, like tchila. However, if she is a ba'ul or a nesua, so in that situation, it's not tchilas bia, and therefore you don't get sreifa, but chenek. Or, it's coming to exclude, she married one of the psulim, she'en's nus zu tchilas hachilul. That this nus is not the beginning of her becoming profane, because she's married to a psul. Says Rashi, Karamer di'omer bas kayin nesuah l'kasher b'sreifa. Avol nisas l'echem psulin, she'neschalwa mishas nesuin. She became profane at marriage. Shuv enu el b'chenek. She only gets chenek. Okay. TA 15. Be'ezechol Shabbos ein chatzas v'karas. Okay, that's an easy question. That's on Samach Vav Nun Aleph. Either, let's say this is TA 15. So TA 15, it's either Tchumim Aliba de Rabbi Kiva or Havara V'Aliba de Rabbi Yosi. Okay. TA 16. V'yomer hachartumim, that's spelled kimhi. Okay, we'll see that next time. TB 16. Habal katana ha'amurasa madinai. Oh, so this is Samach Vav Beis. So this is clearly the Machlokas, Tanakama, and Rav Meir, which is TB 16. So we have over here again Zu Divra Meir of Chachamim Oimrim Narmarastav I feel Katana B'Mashma. Okay, so let's see if I wrote it correctly. Im Habal Mekabel Isa Jafilu Im He Islandus what? V'lo Yechayel Leiled V'hu right. Right to Isel Isha Im Boyalat Ochay Misa Mebaskim Osham Yomechad Pox Bekan Potter. That's Bolkim Ba'ayin Avostam Lochayev. Okay, maybe this needs a lot more work, but it seems to be Pashit. Habal Katana Mi'arusa Madino. So it's either the Tanakama will stay Skila, and according to Rav Meir, I think this is the whole answer, Rav Meir it's Chanek. And that's it. Ad Kan.